Cuba's a failing nation. It has been for a long time, but now it doesn't have Venezuela to prop it up. So we're talking to the people from Cuba, the highest people in Cuba, to see what happens. I want the people that came here that were horribly treated by Cuba to be taken care of, to be able to go back and do what they have to do. You know, they have their family there. They haven't been able to see them in years, many, many years. So I think we're going to make a deal with Cuba.
The Don Roe doctrine in action. President Trump turning his attention to Cuba, hopeful they can make a deal. It comes as he is set to meet with Colombian President Gustavo Petro this week after months of tense exchanges. Fox Noticias host Andrea Linares joins us now. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us. So when it comes to Cuba, the president just signed an executive order imposing tariffs on countries that supply oil to Cuba. So how significant is this?
This is huge. And first of all, good morning, and thank you so much for having me. But this is very important news. Why? Because according to analysts, right now, Cuba has about 15 to 20 days of oil supply left.
Wow.
Let's just remember, they're just running dry. They lost that lifeline from Venezuela. They have allies like Russia and Algeria that they're basically taking a hands-off approach. We are not committing to sending any sort of aid. And then you also have Mexico. They stopped oil shipments to Cuba. So they don't have much. The situation there is just like, according to some experts, it's really turning into a catastrophic situation. Of course, we don't want a humanitarian crisis, but some Cuban Americans here are actually hopeful that this could lead to a total collapse.
Yeah, you know, I was going to ask you about that. Do you have any insight into what Cuban or Cuban Americans feel about this?
Well, there is some level of concern inside the island nation of about 8 million people. Some of them say, well, all these actions may just mean more hardship for the Cuban people, while the government, well, they're not going to be affected. But I believe perhaps if they're just so fed up and they're brave enough to take to the streets and protest, it could lead to some change. I know someone that periodically sends money to family in Cuba. She spoke to her father and said, how are you doing? And she said, well, he tells me, you know, we've gone through so much already. It's been so many decades of facing this hardship that we're ready if this means a potential change.
Wow, so they would want to see that, some Cubans.
They want a free Cuba.
What would an America First deal look like? I mean, that's what President Trump ultimately wants.
Well, that's the big question. We heard President Trump yesterday saying we are working on a deal, and we're talking to some high-level officials. We don't know the specific details, right? It's very vague right now, but there's hope. And there's something that really struck me. Republican Congressman Carlos Jimenez, he said, you know, the situation in Cuba, it's like a cancer. And to treat it, it may take time and there's pain, but it's to save lives. And I really like that comparison because that's what may be the situation for Cuba in order to save the island nation.
Well, this was all sparked by the ousting of Nicolas Maduro. And Venezuela, we're learning, has just released additional political prisoners. But interim President Delcy Rodriguez is also being accused of slow-walking human rights reforms. And then there's this Wall Street Journal headline saying Venezuela's new leader, referring to Delcy Rodriguez, is trying to run out the clock on Trump. So what is next for the nation of Venezuela?
This left me thinking, running out the clock. The big question is Delcy Rodriguez just trying to kill time, doing just enough to appease the Trump administration? And the article goes on to cite a U.S. official that says there's a possibility we may see elections in Venezuela anywhere between 18 to 24 months. I checked the calendar. If we're talking about 24 months, that puts us in January of 2028. What does this mean? That's the end of President Donald Trump's second term in office. We don't know who the next president will be, what party will be in control in the U.S., and what their approach in regards to Venezuela will be. So, as you noted, so far there's a lot of criticism in terms of what they have been doing, what the interim government has been doing with respect to human rights. We have seen the release of 300 political prisoners so far, but hundreds more are still detained, and it's been slow. This past weekend, about 30 political prisoners were released. There's the incredible story of Oscar Castañeda. It was a very tough and also emotional moment to watch when he reunited with his family because he couldn't even recognize his family. His daughter was crying and just saying, Dad, it's me, it's me. And clearly you can see the impact that this regime has had on this man.
Wow. And the Western Hemisphere looking a whole lot different right now than it was before President Trump entered office, and he is laser focused on it. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you in studio.
Thank you.
And you can watch Fox Noticias